I'm resident of Collinwood, Jewel Saints for YouTube, joined by my buddy Gordon Dymowski, my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to give you 2 episodes tonight of Dark Shadows, chosen by Patrick McCray. First, episode 458 and 459. So we'll do 458 first, obviously. This is the episode where Barnabas's mother Naomi poisons herself, and holy shit! What did that's Gordon and I were talking about that before you came on a bit. So I'll ask you, Patrick, first. How shocked at you were you that they showed that the poison?
Not. I think that was. I think that was. I think things like that probably were sort of standard issue on certain soap operas.
Yeah.
And so my suspicion is that was a thing. That's my suspicion anyway.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. That is the money shot, or it's Phil Rizzuto from the Money Store, one or the other.
Yeah.
Gordon, or it's Tom Hanks. Well, I was about to say it's Tom Hanks in the Money Pit.
Yes. God, what a bad movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joel, to answer your question before you're so rudely interrupted, I thought it was a very intense episode because it's part of it is, even though we see her drink the poison, usually for the time, most suicides were either by gun and handled off screen, or it was kind of you'd have the event and you'd have maybe a bit of mourning, but then there'd be this feeling of going back into things. But this episode, in episode 459 or so, there's such a sense of inevitability and doom and foreboding in these episodes. This is really where, you kind of see the impact that Barnabas's curse has on his immediate family. It's not abstract; it is right there.
Yeah.
And this isn't like Sarah's death, where Sarah goes outside because she saw Barnabas. This is even worse to me. Like Sarah's death is sad for sure. But first of all, you see Naomi write the letter to Joshua. You see the poison go in the drink. And it's just like, oh my God, she's going to do it. And she does. And I think the realization from Joan's character is really well, played off in her face and her emotions, where she realizes that what, Nathan has told her, that Nathan says that Barnabas is the Collinsport Strangler. He's alive up in the tower room. So she believes that Nathan is somewhat telling the truth. Nathan doesn't realize what Barnabas exactly is. He's going to find out in the next episode. But I love the fact that I don't love the fact that Joan Bennett's character dies, but I do love the fact that we have seen this is also where Joshua undergoes a significant change. He's somewhat been undergoing the change. I guess you can make that debate with the whole trying to find a cure for Barnabas, but this is where the change really occurs, is the death of Naomi.
It's Joshua, just sort of like Edward. The Louis Edmonds character is going to be sort of the silent transformer. They're actually going to have the most mature, interesting, adult kind of transformation in shows that are about man-children and things like that. The Louis Edmonds, the Louis Edmonds, as I refer to these things in the daybook, is about, someone who sometimes through tragedy, sometimes through just near tragedy, learns to love. And, it's is it too late, for him, or is his refusal to kill Barnabas a weird act of love, ironically executed, or maybe he's just a coward.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing, getting back to sort of the beginnings of this episode, and the spirit of both of them, is that, yeah, there is the sense of pervasive impending doom, but there is a strange joyousness to it, because there is finally clarity of action. Dark Shadows is all about ambiguity and people not really knowing what someone else's agenda is. And in D&D terms, everyone's always holding their action. And in this, no action need be held. All the cards are on the table. And now comes the price for everyone. And there is a liberty in that. Just like there is kind of a liberation that Naomi has in how she's dealing with and how she's dealing with Victoria and how she's dealing with Barnabas. She knows she's going to die, and she's taking power. She's taking autonomy in that. And as awful as Barnabas feels about what Forbes has done, there is a strange dark joy in what he is able to do, and that he finally has the moral certainty that he can take action. Because one of the things I really identify with Barnabas is, yeah, but what if I'm wrong? He's held from really taking action off this issue by this. Well, maybe the other guy has a point. Maybe this repercussion will happen. I was like, nope, we're finally beyond that. And there is a dark and terrible beauty to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because Nathan, what did you guys think of? And I know this is sort of a question I should have asked like way back when with Nathan Forbes. But with Nathan Forbes, do you guys feel that Nathan was always a scumbag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no turning point in this. There's just opportunity to be awful. But my God, Joel Crothers has this moment. I think it's in the second of the two episodes. He doesn't appear in the first one. Where he has his monologue to Barnabas about, well, yeah, I did have everything set up, and then Joshua changed things, and he smiles, but it's not a cruel smile. It's I have been so dumb to be this evil, but I'm kind of committed to it. And there's that is such a brilliant acting moment, because he is so identifiable and endearing, because we've all bitten off more than we can chew one way or the other. And there's like, yeah, I got to own it. And that's what gives Dark Shadows its dimension, is moments like that. And I mean, a lot of people can crack on the acting in Dark Shadows, and just because a performance is on Dark Shadows doesn't mean it's good. And there is sort of a staginess to a lot of the acting on Dark Shadows, and that's okay. That's part of the language of the show. But sometimes there's acting, and it's just beautifully pure. And I think initially when I watched these episodes, I thought that those moments, those really beautiful moments, were between Louis Edmonds and Jonathan Frid. And they are. They have magnificent chemistry in these. It's like they really feel like they can get things out of the way. But now that I watched them again, the real chemistry is between Joel Crothers and Jonathan Frid. And that scene in the Eagle, we tend to think of it with the fireworks of smashing the glasses and go ahead and shoot. I'm already I'm already dead, and so on. And yeah, those are the big moments. But really, it is this unbelievable connectedness and intensity in the dialogue around it that is truly the human crackling in between the two that I think is just awe-inspiring. It is some of the best acting on the show. It's similar to that acting around episode 1000 that Catherine Lee Scott has with David Selby, where she's leaving Parallel Time Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, this stopped being about hitting your soap opera marks, even though they hit their soap opera marks. This is theatrical, real, red meat, totally connected, Sanford Meisner style, connected acting. And it's just jaw-dropping.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Can I
Is
give
that-
you guys a little theory with the whole Nathan Forbes thing?
You can give me a theory about the whole anytime you want.
I think Nathan Forbes' change in sort of attitude doesn't really happen until after Barnabas is cursed. And if you go look at what Angelique's curse is, about how anybody Barnabas loves or will love will die.
Uh-huh.
Well, okay, Jeremiah already died pre-curse, right? Well, that was his uncle who he was close with.
Okay.
And here's Nathan Forbes, who he's friends with, like close friends with, and cares for. And now all of a sudden, post-curse, Nathan's sort of this, heel, out for himself guy. It's like, wait, did he get affected by the curse somehow?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Go
I
for
was
it.
about to say, when you look at the Nathan Forbes performance, even though initially it may come off as kind of like plain guy and then he turns evil, I think what it is, you see the mask slip a bit. Because what Carruthers does, he doesn't play Nathan Forbes as, okay, I'm I'm Joe Haskell, but then, ooh, I'm evil, ooh, I'm manipulative.
Right.
You see it roll out, and he always plays it. He plays it one notch down. He plays it as
Yes.
he never plays it as flat out manipulative evil. He's not the stereotypical bad guy. He plays it down one notch. And so when he has that moment with Barnabas in the bar and he realizes, oh, I can't do anything, especially in the next episode, it's instead of a person frustrated that his plans are not coming to fruition, this is a guy who's realizing that, oh crap, I can't, I am in over my head.
Yeah. Would you say his heel turn is more about motive and opportunity?
Here's the thing. To use your wrestling term against you, I don't think it's a heel turn. He's always been a heel.
Okay.
Because a heel turn means you go from good to bad. And he's not going from good to bad. He's a heel pretending to be a baby face.
That makes sense for the most part. Like, now his
Makes sense.
turn is done better than some wrestling turns I've seen done, because some of the wrestling turns you see that are just obvious. I can give one, but I won't.
Okay.
But
We support you in this.
well, okay. Here's an example. Like, when I was a lot younger, when I was a kid, I watched a tag team match with Sting and Ric Flair, and they were going against the Four Horsemen. Now, anybody knew that Flair and Sting were rivals, and Sting was rivaling with the Horsemen too. It's like, and Sting's only way out of this was, if you cross me, I will bury you. And it's just like, dude, he's gonna cross you. Are you serious? Like, the way they set Sting up for it is like just stupid. So, and obviously, yeah, Ric Flair betrays him. So that's sort of the.
I think there's an excerpt in this book that I think explains it perfectly. I bent forward and twisted my shoulders, but it was no use. The guy was a brute. With one hand, he grabbed me by the chin and pulled my head back up again. That's when the other guy stepped out of the shower.
Joel, he told you if it went down the wrestling road, he was going to whip out his James Patterson.
Oh my god!
We just got an earful.
It's really interesting, this episode.
And for those who are viewing, if you want me to do a whole YouTube channel reading this book aloud, no, because I don't want copyright strikes on YouTube. Because James Patterson seems like that kind of guy.
See, I'm not. Anybody wants to read my book out loud, go for it.
Well, see, that's the thing. You're a decent human being, Patrick.
Yeah.
And no, you don't hear that enough.
I don't.
You are a decent people. Patrick McCray is a decent human being.
He is. You're very awesome, sir.
Yes.
Now, here's a question for you guys with this episode too. That Joshua is still, he's got a lot of irons in the fire. It's just as a case of, he's so concerned. He's still concerned about Barnabas. He's concerned about Naomi not finding out about Barnabas. I know he doesn't trust Nathan Forbes, but does he really honestly think Nathan won't tell Naomi?
I don't know. I don't know if he's really in his right mind.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't think he's thinking that many moves ahead. He's very traumatized.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. You have to keep in mind, he's had this strange woman claim to come from the future. He's had his daughter die, his brother die, and his brother died, come back as a zombie. His one son was supposed to marry Josette, but she ends up marrying his brother.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and it's Joshua is barely holding it together. He's one of those British stiff upper lip types, but his world is falling apart.
That's some of the horror of the sequence, I mean, when you think about where Joshua starts in 1795 and how much he loses by, and some of it's not really any of it's his fault. I mean, it just sort of happens around him. He has lived on this cloud of certainty based on social class and just the way things are, and wealth and power that comes with it, and so all the assumptions that go along with it. That this is how my father's life was. This is how my life will be. And me, it's over.
And losing Naomi is the straw that breaks the camel's back, quite literally in every way. I mean, that's the thing about the next episode too. Like 459. I mean, he does not care what happens to Nathan.
He just wants to be alone. Everywhere he goes to be alone, somebody shows up to give him terrible news.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants to be by himself. So after all this, with Forbes is sitting at the bar, he's celebrating because he caught the witch. Oh, God, good for you. Is like Ben Stokes knows what Barnabas is. Joshua knows what Barnabas is, and I love how Ben Stokes taunts Nathan Forbes in this episode in 459. It is so criminally good, Thayer David.
Oh yeah, but the great thing is that even he has his limits. He revels in a lot of Schadenfreude, but there's not enough Schadenfreude in the prospect of what the hell Barnabas is going to do to Forbes, which I think probably involves skinning him.
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of terrible Clive Barker-like torture that Barnabas really had ready to go for Forbes. And that was pretty ugly.
Yeah. And not coincidentally, I would love to read a Clive Barker Dark Shadows novel. That would be interesting.
That'd be terrific.
Yeah. And that way we can have the puzzle box from Hellraiser and Dark Shadows.
Oh, Clive Barker is more than just puzzle box. And Hellraiser. If you think that's the only thing he's good for, you need to read like Books of Blood and I think it's it's like the Demolition Game, the Desolation Game. You need to read his stuff. It's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he does. I forget the name of the story, but he does one of the best stories about a disembodied. It's the traditional like hand gets a mind of its own.
Yeah.
But the hand is still on the person's arm.
Oh wow!
I mean, it's really out there.
That's a very Sam Raimi idea, also. The hand went bad, so I cut it off.
Yeah, that's an Evil Dead too. That's really that's
handled very differently by Mr. Barker.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Nightbreed is a really good movie of his too, if you've ever checked it out. Fun movie to watch for sure. With this episode with 459, I really enjoyed the whole lead up to what was happening. Barnabas, you knew he was going to get vengeance against Nathan Forbes. The taunting at the Eagle. I think this, and there's like a couple other times it's named the Eagle. I think 1841, or no, not 1840. Back in the past, it's called the Eagle as well. Now,
yeah, that was what the first owner called it. And then it was bought out by a national franchise of Blue Whale taverns. And, it happened in the 1950s. And then that tavern got bought out by Starbucks. And so now, you've got a Starbucks where the Blue Whale is with.
In the 70s, it was a Sambo's. Remember that? The breakfast place, Sambo's?
I don't think we ever had Sambo's here in Chicago.
They had them in Northern California, and it was embarrassing even then.
Do I want to know what a Sambo's is?
Like a Denny's.
Oh, okay.
But it was a name that was politically incorrect even then, and you just couldn't believe that this existed, especially in Northern California. What on earth? Yeah.
I've been to Denny's before. That's not bad.
Have you ever been to Waffle House?
I don't think so.
Jewel, you seem like a Waffle House guy.
I probably haven't. I was probably young when I was.
It's like a gas station men's room that also serves food. Every
side dish is a hash brown.
Yeah.
Then yes, I have.
Like you get a cheeseburger, you don't get fries, you get a hash brown. You've never been to a Waffle House, Jewel?
No, I have. Just there's a Waffle House. Well, there's a couple in Pennsylvania. There's one called Ed's Diner.
Well,
no, they're called Waffle House.
Oh, Waffle House. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like Ed's Waffle House. It's Waffle House. You
Sure.
need to go to Waffle House. That's your homework assignment, Jewel.
Okay.
You go to Waffle House, and we will do a 10-hour podcast about the joys of Waffle House.
I'll have Julie.
Which will be 15 minutes of Waffle House talk and 9 hours and 45 minutes of me and Patrick riffing and with the occasional wrestling story.
They do a catered Valentine's meal.
So does White Castle.
So does God bless White Castle. Crystal sucks. White Castle's where it's at.
I'll have Julie take me there for my birthday. Talk her into it.
There's no irony. You would love it.
But so what did you guys think of episode 459?
It is just as heartrending. I mean, hi Lincoln. It's just, there he is, the old ham. It's terrific. I mean, these are episodes that genuinely I think you could easily argue these are the two greatest episodes of Dark Shadows. Maybe not the two greatest Dark Shadows episodes, but in terms of just overall execution, they are brilliantly written. It's where long stories have come to pass, and I mean, they are about issues so deep. And then when you consider These are the last experiences Barnabas had, the formative experience he had right before Willie Loomis cracks him out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what he's reeling from Naomi's suicide and from killing Forbes when he shows up at that door and wants the old house back and gives that monologue in the old house about, I'm back. This is, I mean, no wonder he makes so many weird decisions in that period. There is no PTSD like what he has been through. And this absolutely makes it a reality. Hang on, let me turn this thing on.
Patrick's shoes, everyone.
Exactly. Live. Am I back?
I hear you.
Yeah, hang on. There we are. Hi.
Hello.
There we are. Hi.
There you are.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon, what did you think of this episode 459?
I thought it was really good. I think it continues that kind of really sense of things are just deteriorating, and you know that in an episode, now that we have all this, we know that in an episode or two, Joshua will be the one who tries to shoot him. Barnes will be asking his dad to shoot him with a silver bullet, and Joshua can't do it. And it's just this real sense of that it's not just that that Barnabas, once he wakes up in 1966, he's not just carrying the weight of being a vampire. He's now carrying the weight of the fact that his family was destroyed, and in his head, it's all his fault. That when he talks about something that his father loathed, like, I'm sure there'll be people who watch you go, but it didn't really happen in the flashback. Well, when you're dealing with this kind of amount, of course he's going to think that. Of course he's going to, or even like the, in the 200s, the speech he gives to Carolyn and about Widow's Hill. Like, okay, maybe it didn't happen that way, but he's just got, when you're dealing with trauma and grief, memory gets a little shaky. And I think Barnabas, a lot of times, and we see this throughout the series, he blames himself. He becomes hyper responsible. He becomes, in old school terms, the hero of the family because he's trying to rescue everyone.
And it's something he can control. If he is at fault, at least there's an explanation. Mm-hmm. At least he can get his grip on that.
He's kind of like the old pulp character, the Spider, who had this messiah complex. He had to go out and fight crime. He had to dress up he had to put the hunch on his back, put the vampire things on, the slouch hat and the freak wig, grab his 245s and shoot people. He wasn't the Shadow. And ironically, I kind of wish Jonathan Frid had played the Spider in the 1970s. That'd be a pretty good match. Yeah, Jewel, you should read more Spider novels. He's cooler than the Shadow, I swear to you. Because the Shadow's all bluff and bluster and who knows weevil looks and hearts him in. The Spider will pop a cap in your ass.
He's in the mud. Yeah. He was in yeah.
I don't know. I've seen the Shadow shoot some people. But that being said, first of all, I agree with you both on this episode. When you watch, especially the entirety of 1795, and especially these two episodes back to back, the way first of all, this episode here, 459, it goes by really dangerously quick. I have a little story behind this. I was watching this episode over today. My wife, who had to go to work, was trying to watch it with me. She walked out the room, which she said felt like 10 minutes, and come back. She goes, "Is it over?" I'm like, it's gonna be over. She's like, "How long was I gone?" I said, "I don't know," but
How long was I out, Jewel?
yeah, it's like I couldn't answer honestly, but the episode was ending. I think it was longer than 10 minutes personally, but she said it was 10 minutes, so I'm not going to argue with her. But with this, you can see throughout the entirety of 1795, and when you go back to when Barnabas was first released, that yeah, he has a lot of trauma. He has a lot of that memories that he's suffering from. To me, when he's talking to Elizabeth, even, I mean, he pretty much does a slip up, but then he does a recovery of, I remember it the way, you kept it the way it was. And he's like, it's like, okay, like he almost like slips up, but he catches himself too. He's like, oh, from photos I've seen, stories I've been told. And it's like, he's looking at Elizabeth like his mother, like Naomi. He's not calling her Naomi, but he's looking at her like Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
Even like Carolyn, he's looking at her like Melody. Victoria is the only real, new person that he doesn't know. But
she has a film quality.
Well, right. That's good. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and keep in mind when Barnabas comes in 1965, he's also he changed his way into his own head twice.
Yeah.
Once he basically forced his younger self out in 1840, then in 1897. So right now, I mean, he's probably like, okay, I've got these weird fuzzy memories. It's like yesterday, I had actually changed my brain into Patrick's younger self. And all I can say is tomorrow there will be photos on the net. 3 words: Tijuana Donkey Show. I'm sorry, I know that was crass, but I just had to say it.
No, those are very profitable times for me. I'm sure one of Barnabas's hallucinations is like Willie comes in. Barnabas, you're looking at me weird. What's going on? I don't understand. It's just, Willie, I had a dream, and you were dressed up like my father, and you tried to shoot me by my casket in 1795, but instead a little flag came out and said fib. I don't know why.
Oh my.
There's a head in a glass box.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, when you look at Barnabas, he's done some pretty hefty stuff. Time travel, gone into his own body again and again. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. But I think too, like Gordon said, him describing the whole, Josette running from her lover. He knows it's him. It makes you appreciate all that so much more once you see 1795. It really does. So,
and I think it also talks about or hints at why Barnabas's attitude towards death in some ways is very casual. I mean, not only is it like, well, I live here, it's not so bad. I live in a state of death. But I think having seen his mother consciously choose death as a viable response to life, it's a very political act. It's in some ways with Naomi, it doesn't feel so much desperate as a statement of being, as an act of resistance. And for him to see his mother do this with a straight mind and such clarity, it makes death less scary. Death is simply an autonomous choice in the Barnabas Collins, and there is no judgment left. because death has been a very liberating place to be for him. As a guy who lived with such fear and apprehension and, oh God, what if this happens and what if that happens? Well, he certainly is beyond all of that. That's not to say he's free of fear and apprehension, but it takes on a very different pallor.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty profound statement that the show is very quietly making.
Yeah. I think Barnabas would do very, very well in a little town called Silent Hill. Very, very.
Yeah. That man has a pointy head. Oh, yeah, the pointy head, mister. I got points here.
Barnabas would have his own monsters, so, you can only imagine what those would be.
Well, Barnabas would bring something to Silent Hill that it doesn't have, which is dialogue. Anyway.
Yeah, I think he'd also bring something else to Silent Hill, which is something worth watching.
It's very, very much worth watching. Oh my God. It's very, very much worth watching, I promise. So is Dark Shadows, very much so. Guys, is there anything you guys want to add about these episodes?
Go watch them. They are Dark Shadows that's beyond Dark Shadows. I have seen my share of this show, and I watched these again tonight, and I was riveted. Mm-hmm. I didn't move. I feared anyone saying anything to break the spell. It's just that's exactly what it casts. It is the payoff for the entire series that has come and the entire series that will come.
Yeah, and it's also the show raising the bar for itself.
That it will. I think it probably won't reach it again until Quentin realizes his kids are gone.
Mm-hmm.
That his son is dead.
Yeah. Because that moment, we learned a lot of things pre-1897. We're not sure exactly what they mean. At least Barnabas isn't either, and as an audience, we aren't either when we first watched Dark Shadows. But then you go back when Barnabas goes back in time to 1897, knowing that he's going to have to be a vampire again, and so does Julia. That when you learn that Quentin's kids die, it brings you right back to sort of this point in time of 1795, Naomi dying and shit. So it's really, really heartbreaking. Really great episodes, Patrick.
Thank you. Yeah, and we can thank Jonathan Alexandratos for bringing them to my attention again.
Thank you, Jonathan, wherever you are. Thank you. We appreciate you. Great episodes. Let me see.
Hey, Jewel, put a link to his book, Articulating the Action Figure, in the video.
Okay, I'll put. Is it on Amazon?
You bet.
It's Articulating the Action Figure. So there will be 3 links in the description box. Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page, Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Day Book Unbound, and Articulating the Action Figure.
Yeah.
Articulating the Action Figure will be in the description box. Go pick those up. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I will message you later with the episode I'm going to choose.
I look forward to it. Well, thank you.
See you guys.
Have a great night.
Bye, all.
Bye.